My guest today is Lisa Galea, and I met her in Australia, and it was really neat just connecting because sometimes you meet people online, you're not quite sure what to expect when they're in person, and she's a ball of energy, radiating positive energy. And there's a bunch of things that she wants to talk about today, so I'm going to just shut up and hand the show over to you. What are we talking about? But before we do that, Lisa, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Chris. Hi, everybody. I am Lisa Galea, and I'm a creative alchemist. I help people get what they want by using behavioral science and 30 years worth of design thinking and working in the advertising industry. I really love what I do, and I love helping people. I help out the Futur as a business mentor, and I work with the Australian government doing their leadership and mentor program as well. And it really gives me great joy when people win their goals, and then I get to celebrate as well. So that's one of my favorite things to do. So today we are talking about winning goals and actually achieving what we want to do in life. When I first got married, I looked around in my house and I loved it. It was a little 70s old kitchen. And as I looked around, I was like, this is exactly what I imagined. It was like my student little house, and I had a secondhand couch and I painted the kitchen. It had a pretty cute garden. But as I did sit there, I remember thinking, you better imagine a better house next time. Since then, I've been married for 25 years and we have found a few houses. But I've never looked for a house. I get really clear what I want and it seems to just come my way. I have got people who spend weekends looking for impossible houses. They tell me it's impossible to find one, but they still keep going out there looking every weekend. But for me, everything, when I've been really clear what I want, has actually become available for me. So today, I wanted to talk to you about people achieving their goals. Because of all the coaching I do and because of all the things I do, I'm seeing the mindset, and I've just seen hundreds of people now. And I really feel there's something we need to shift as a society so we all feel like winners. I did have a dream that where I'm at now, I found my purpose as a 50-year-old person. And my dream is to find a place, a new property where when I got old, I could have other people come and share my chickens and my eggs and my honey. And it would just be a place where people could come and fill their cups and I could teach from. And that was really what I wanted. We've got a caravan, so we'd searched around and we looked at all the different areas, and I realized it was a lot of money. So I sort of put that on the back burner and was like, okay, cool, that is what I want. Let's keep moving because you need a big deposit before the bank's going to lend you money for that. Then last Christmas, suddenly it became available to me. So welcome to my new sanctuary, and it's a new adventure for me. And sometimes in life we go round in circles, and I think there is no destination. We're always learning, and sometimes people forget that when they're doing their goals. I have actually found exactly what I wanted. I'm in a goal group with people, and one of the ladies I know, when I found this property, she looked at me and she goes, she was in Mexico, and she goes, I don't know what you do because you do a lot of stuff. But I do know when I met you, you said you wanted a property where you danced along the river naked and no one saw you. And you're obviously very good at getting what you want. And I laughed because I think when I said naked, I meant like just in my mind, freeness. I didn't actually mean that. My husband was a bit disappointed when we arrived. But I'm very happy now to have this place and start this new adventure. And I want everyone to get positive and start winning their goals. It is pretty magic here, so I just thought I'd show you guys that. I've got my river and I've got my birds and animals, and I work in pretty much magic. So knowledge is power. I think that's the most important thing. Through my journey, I'm fascinated with the human mind. And once you start understanding your own system, you can start working with the system instead of against it. I think people are fighting the system, and that's why it's so hard. I don't think it has to be hard. I think it's all about how you think about it. Effort is not the same as hard. Effort means you're putting energy in, but you can enjoy that. You can have fun. You can, when I've done a lot of trekking, you can sing at the last beat. That's why people march when soldiers are together, because you can change your attitude while you're doing the task. But I want you to feel in control of your destiny. I think it's super important that you do feel in control. I know psychologically that is really the key thing, not actually having what you want, is actually feeling like you're in charge when you're riding this journey of life. As a species, I do believe we have some big problems. Everything's evolving so quickly and we need to do some catch up. We've got some big problems to solve. Some of them I don't think we even know what they are yet. But I know that if we work together and if we actually do communicate, we've got the most amazing internet. The first time, the way we can communicate together just blows my mind. And I think that the information we have will just be exponentially expanded because we're joining all these marvelous minds together in the world, which is so cool. We're going to be able to solve whatever problem we have. But first of all, we need to start winning our own goals before we can lead people, before we can actually help other people do things. We have to be able to lead ourselves. And when I started Googling about goals at the beginning of the new year, it just didn't look that good. It didn't look like people really did achieve goals. It had SMART goals, it had everything there, but basically it was a very small percentage. But a huge fan of percentages because I think they're made up, depending on what people want to look at. But it was like 6%, if you were lucky, actually got their goals. And all over the world, to be honest, we were not happy humans. I don't think our government systems, it needs to evolve. Our education systems, like Dead Poets Society, there's a lot of things we need to actually get into and change because technology is moving so fast. And we've been given all these diverse, marvelous minds so we can evolve and we can win. So let's get on it, guys, so we can actually do this all together. Your marvelous mind. It's pretty mental how our mind works. We still don't really know, like hardly anything. But what is interesting, it's only been the last maybe 6 years that we've actually started to be able to really measure what's going on in our mind. And it's crazy how it works. In the future, the technology, well, as we're seeing now, the new AI is based on one of the processes they found of how our brain works. From 2 years old, we then start doing learning just from what we're doing. So they fed into the AI up to 2. But our brain is just amazing. It can do so many different things. It can solve problems we haven't even imagined yet. It took us to outer space. It's taken us to design spectaculars all over the world. You've seen the pyramids, so many crazy things we've built over our period of time here. From cavemen, we have now built our own metaverse. So it is pretty cool what we can do. There are no limits with this machine. Just so you get a little tiny little idea, just in 1 millimeter, so it's just that small, 1 tiny cubic millimeter, there's 20 times more connections than human beings all over our planet. Tiny little one, there's like 20 times the amount of people that are on the earth. So it's pretty crazy. It's the most powerful machine you could ever imagine. And for those of you who are stressing about AI, like, you don't have to stress because you can't even see the tiny little dot I put on the slide there if I actually did a size comparison because it got ridiculous. But it's that small. What it can do is 0.5 of our processing power. Ours is like the size of a small pumpkin, like a cauliflower. The AI would be lucky if it was the size of a cricket. I did actually find a cricket here in Australia, but it was so big. It was actually way bigger than an AI's brain. I thought it might freak you all out if I started holding giant insects. So the human brain is a pretty amazing, complex thing. So that's what I want you to know. We can do anything, guys. I really want you to start believing that. So why have we got this amazing mind? I go on, SMART goals, do this, do that. Why are we not achieving our goals? What is it? I listen to what people say, and I would say most people are not achieving their goals because they have no idea what they want. So if we can't get what we want if we don't actually know. They often give this delusional future. Like when they're imagining it, it's like they suddenly control the humans. Other people change personality in their futures. It's not just them who change, it's everyone around them treats them differently, which is never going to happen. You can only control you. And it's really quite delusional sometimes. I love dreaming big. I believe in magic. It's cool. But when you are actually setting a goal, it's not a dream. It's actually, I'm going to achieve this, or I want to do this. You've really got to look at the numbers and think, yeah, well, if you're only earning $1,000 now, you're not going to be earning $1 million by the year unless you've got to find the solution. Our brain is not magic. I think that's one thing The Secret left out, when it's like, you do have to get clear on what you want. That's really important. Our brain needs to know that. But there's a little secret The Secret left out. The secret is action is the key to anything. So it's so important that we really take action as we move through anything in the world. It's how the whole system works. So what is a goal? To me, a goal is getting what you want. It says online, the object of a person's ambition or effort, the aim or the desired result. For me, when I set a goal, I really want to get it. It's like getting what you want is the reason I set a goal. So let's get on it and find out, how do we get what we want? Well, curiosity is key, my friends. Sherlock Holmes, Einstein, the bush hunters of the Kalahari, they all had one thing in common. They're all curious. They use that curiosity to drive their success. We are learning machines. If you think from when we're born, we're given the most primitive system. And from that, we go on to do the most amazing things. I mean, Einstein solved so many things, so many different things, because of his insatiable desire to know what was actually going on around us. Your brain will have changed by the end of this little talk. It is so cool. It's actually a live wire, and that is the most amazing thing about our brains. It continues to be a live wire our whole lives. It's almost like a city that's evolving, like New York, and it just keeps growing and growing as we need the different areas. When you don't use those areas, it's just like muscles. You don't use it, you lose it. So really, guys, keep on learning new things. Keep being curious. Keep making that brain work for you. It's making new connections. It's like a live wire of communication networks, like tree roots, sending connections to each other and making it all work. It's like if you zoomed in, it's like all little tentacles talking and bumping and sending little signals to each other. It's very cool. But before I start today, I wanted you to listen, and I'm going to tell you a story. I am just giving you this warning because I cry very easily, so do not panic. It does happen at Hallmark ads. It happens when I watch The Voice. I'm an emotional human. So I just wanted to let you know, because sometimes it does freak you out. So don't leave the building. The show will go on. I will move through it. Once upon a time, there was a young girl, and she was born in London, and she was loved by her family, and they wanted her to have everything that they hadn't had growing up. They traveled all over the world, visited different countries, and she got to experience so many different perspectives of lives. She was blessed to have a rich tapestry of colours, mixing with all different types of people. And it gave her confidence to be in all different types of situations. She travelled from London to the Middle East, and she experienced golds and riches beyond your wildest imagination. A world completely covered in sand, with silks and servants and sheiks' palaces. But she also experienced the other side of life, where she saw corruption and beautiful countries with problems and different things going on, poverty and violence, which was such a massive contrast to all the different places she'd been. She travelled to Europe, Australia, and she found the happiest place on earth. built by one of the most amazing thinkers, Walt Disney. There was an odd bump in the road as she did her early years in life, but she was mostly full of fun and confident in her ability to solve problems. She had a good sense of adventure and curiosity, and she always managed to thrive. She grew up blessed to know she was loved, and she had a belief in magic, and she thought that dreams would come true. Did she have goals? I'm not really think so. Not in those early years. There was moments when she wasn't really living into her values, but she was really just exploring, evolving. Something I do highly recommend people do in your early 20s, because there's things you can do at that age that are not acceptable later on in life. So go have fun then and explore and find out even more about yourself. But back to the story of this little girl. She did have a belief, a very strong belief, that had been implanted from a very early age. At some point, she'd get married, she'd have her dream job and her dream house, 2 kids and the dog, and she would live her happy ever after. She did find her Prince Charming. She kissed him and he turned into a frog. And together they started a family. And they lived in the forest and they had children and pets and animals everywhere. Life was good and it was a lot of love. But life doesn't always stay as you plan. And things started to change when her daughter went to school. Fingers started pointing and people started saying things were wrong. Without realizing it, she started to follow this path of wrongness and she entered a dark forest. She'd entered this maze full of judgment and blame and fear, and there was witches and goblins. They didn't like anything different. They pushed her and they poked her and they tried to get to the child, sometimes attacking when they found her unguarded. But they were really afraid when things weren't the same as them. She fought back with all her might, and her daughter fought. But these people had found a new weapon. They worked out how to hurt people anonymously, and they were hidden while they hurt others. So it was a useless battle. Some people tried to help them, but then they turned away. It just made them feel useless and uncomfortable. They could see it was destroying lives, and everything started spiraling and spiraling and spiraling around her. Everywhere she looked, she could see pain and hurt, and she started losing her family as she went deeper and deeper into the darkness. Her child could sing like an angel, and her voice led these people to them. Eventually, they found the child and they attacked her and stole her voice away. She then was so lost. She was so broken from fighting. She just curled up in a ball. It was enough. She'd hit rock bottom. She'd just been attacked too much. She couldn't fight anymore. She kept looking for help. She was afraid of the future. She didn't know what would come next. All she was in looking around. She was immobilized in fear. Eventually, she fell asleep. And as she fell asleep, she dreamt of all the what-ifs that might be, all the things that might happen as she went ahead. She just became in an amnesia of powerless. She couldn't make any changes. To the outside world, everything looked okay. No one could see what was going on. She fought and fought to make sure that was okay, but inside she was broken. She was asleep and in this turmoil of going round and round with nothing changing. No power, just feeling the attack and just being on alert, but not making any moves in life. She looked around looking for people. She looked for the white knight who was come and save her. But there was nothing there. There was no one coming to save her. She didn't know what she was going to do. She was just there on her own. As she was asleep, she heard the wind whispering to her, and it woke her up, and there was a lady there. And the lady just said, "It's time, it's time. You are the only person who can do this. It's time to take your first steps." And so she did. She had no idea how she was going to solve the problem. She had no idea where she was going. But doing nothing was getting her nowhere. So she took that first step. And as she did, she started to feel some light. As she did, she started to feel in control. She turned around and she looked at the lady to say thank you. And the lady just held out her hand and gave her a hug. She pulled her in tight, and as they broke away, she gave her 3 crystals. 3 amazing things that she realised would give her what she needed to move forward on her journey ahead. Life's a roller coaster, my friend. You don't get to control the ups and downs. It's not something we actually get to control. But you do have a choice. You have a choice on how you react to the ride. Some people choose to close their eyes and just sit there and just wish it was all over. And when they get off, occasionally they even vomit. There's just so much held inside them. I'm not someone who's like that. I choose to jump on board and wave my arms in the air and enjoy every moment. And that means the ups and downs. But I do know that's the only thing I can do. I choose to wave my arms and have fun. I'm pretty certain if you're not enjoying the ride and you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong. But how about you? I'm going to go over the 3 gems that I found for you. Obviously, that was my story, and it's just so much easier for me to tell it as a fairy tale. I do believe in magic, and it's something I've believed in since I was 10 years old. So I might have a slight problem with the amount of things I've collected. But it's something that gives me joy, and it's something that fills my cup. So I want today to tell you the 3 things, a quick overview of the science. I'm going to make this as simple as I can. And I'm going to tell you the actions and hacks that you need to take over your operating system. I'm not going to leave you with a list of tasks and things to do, more goals that you've not achieved, because your time's precious. But I want you to start on a path that will give you back more time, more choice, and not more things to do. I've created a checklist, and that will be in the links below. And that will give you a start as we go through, because there's lots of reasons, different reasons for everyone. We've all got different minds. It's marvelous. But go through this list and you'll know what areas you need to work on, things that maybe you need to just take a little check on. And there is some exercises there if you think, oh, yep, I've put some exercises there that you can try and start exploring so you can get on this pathway. But do get in touch if you want to on social media. You will find me there. If you've got any questions, I'm a very friendly human. Get curious and let's enjoy the adventure. Effort, not hard. I aim to really show you how once you understand your system, you don't have to make it this hard. I see people on Instagram, they're like, it's hard, you got to fight. Yeah, there is times where it feels tough. There's times where you've got to move through, but you don't have to feel like you're fighting the whole time. let's get ready to level up. Are you ready to play and have some fun? Let's do this. No matter where you are in your journey, nothing happens without action. That is key. Nothing happens in our world without an exchange of energy. So where are you now? I want you to relax, and you don't even need to stress. It's really cool if you're just listening in and doodling. Don't think about the brain science stuff I'm going to tell you. Just if you could write down what your current goals are, that would be really cool, because it will just actually give you that opportunity to compare the perspective once you've heard this, and maybe change what you're going to do to start winning those goals. Just start paying attention and see how knowing this knowledge can change that for you and give you a new perspective. So the first thing I want to talk about is the talisman of security. This was the thing she gave me. It was an anchor. An anchor is something that allows you to be still when you're in a storm. It allows you to be safe, which is what we need to do if we want to achieve our goals. We've got to feel safe in the beginning. No matter what's going on around us, we have to be firm and strong. And that's what an anchor helps us do. In behavioral science, it helps us in so many other things. You can really use it as a trick to hack yourself and other people. We anchor very easily. It's a tool we use as humans. But it's something that once you're aware of and you can use, is so powerful in being able to control where you are. So the first most important thing, if you want to achieve your goals, is to look around where you're at now. Where are you? Are you set up for success? We've really got to look at our energy and what we're doing. So we're going to just talk about really quickly, what about it, energy? What is actually things we need to do, sense, and also what else is really important for us to have this ecosystem ready for us. One of the things when I had this light bulb moment, and I actually got these jewels, I actually did meet a healer, someone I never expected in life to meet. It wasn't someone I expected. I was really lost, and I met a friend, and she said, "How are you?" And basically, I just burst into tears. I don't think anyone had asked me. And it was like, not good, my friend, not good. And she sent me to see this woman, Amory. She had feathers in her hair and dreadlocks, and she was like she was trained by Indian American people. But at this point, I was like, cool, I'll go see this lady. I don't know. Now, when I saw her, she explained my energy was just too low. She said, you're not going to achieve anything at the moment until you start actually filling your cup up and get your energy raised. And when she said that, and she was like, you're with all computers, she wasn't a big fan. And I suddenly just had this moment where all the dots joined together. Everything connected, like I'd done genetics at uni, which I really thought was useless. And I've studied about my daughter, learning about all different types of neurodiverse brains, which at the time, you know, there was effort. It was effort. And I've been through things I wouldn't wish on other humans through that journey. But all the little things that I had no idea why I'd learned them, suddenly it just all came together. And I realized this picture was like, I'm made of energy. I'm made of cells. Of course I am. Like, how ridiculous. Of course I've known this all along. Basically, I'm the same as nature. All the elements in life is what I'm made of, cells vibrating. And it was really like, oh, yeah, of course, I'm cells vibrating. And it just made me think, whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing with those cells? I mean, all we are is just is a mass of atoms. And there's just frequencies and chemical hormones moving around there. It just was like this light bulb moment when I realized everything I ate actually was going into this molecule system and this vibrating energy. And I really realized, like, woof, I had no energy. I was like, no wonder you don't have any energy. I was, too busy, just like when I'm talking to people with goals. When people ask me, how are you doing? How are you, Lisa? How are you going? I'll be like, I'm so busy. I'm busy. I've got 5 businesses. Me, I'm a busy human. And I realized that was my life. That was what I actually got on my plate. That's what my word said. I was busy. Our brain is this like amazing thing. It's only 2% of our body weight, but it actually takes huge amounts of energy in comparison. 20% of like our energy goes to this 2%. So it's really important, I realized, to feed our brain. Like how many of us are going on a journey trying to make changes and we're not prepared? We wouldn't try to drive to the top of Australia without petrol in our tank. We wouldn't not ask questions. We wouldn't ask people for help because we didn't know the way. We would go, I want to find out as much as I can about this journey so I'm prepared. But with my own body, I just basically completely ignored that. And my vibrations were low. So the first thing I needed to do was start actually looking after that, because no one's going to get there, babe. You're not going to get there unless your body is ready. The company you keep matters as well, because they're vibrating energy and you're wasting your energy. I've noticed with a lot of people I meet, I hear them speaking also on Instagram and I hear them in different places. They're wasting so much energy thinking about what other people are thinking. What are they doing? And even when they're with other humans, they're thinking about what the other human's thinking about. And if they actually paid attention and watched and listened, they'd know. But they miss all that information because their monkey mind's so busy. But you want to find people where you belong. You want to find people, I think when you try to fit in, which is, I think one of the reasons I got lost, you're trying to fit in and prove to all these other people that you're okay. But when you're actually where you belong, you don't have to do that. And you don't have to have those barriers up because you're trying to fit in. You actually get to let them down and not waste that energy. Find people who raise you up. Find people who when you leave them, you feel good. Not people who when you leave them, you feel, ooh. Find really where you belong. I've found just being, when you're in like a community like the Pro Group, it's so cool when you see other people doing stuff. It gives you that extra drive you need. You think they're doing it, so can I. And then you see them doing even bigger things, better things, and your brain goes, I've never even thought of doing that. How am I going to solve that problem? Wow, how could I do that? And that is happening because of the people you're with. There's other people who have a very different perspective of the world. Over the last couple of years, I have had to protect my energy because some people, it's not, you just go, ugh, I don't need that. I don't want to listen to those sort of things. So it was this real thing of everything's energy for me. And I really, even with food, like I said, I thought, oh my goodness. I started actually seeing like Doritos in these huge, I can't even imagine what the chemical symbol looks like for that. But I didn't know it was way too big and I didn't want that in my body. It actually started giving me joy when I take things off a tree. I realized they're actually vibrating. That's why we need to eat fresh food. Because at that point, that food's alive. It's growing and it's vibrating as well. And I checked, I've measured. Yes, it does raise your energy just from eating those foods. It does raise the vibrational level of your body. So it's really cool. And for me, it was just a game changer because suddenly I was like, it wasn't a deprivation to not eat food. It was actually, why would I want to put that in my body? I think I actually went a little bit too extreme, as you do when you first start changing things in life. And it was almost like, I was like, I can't even put that stuff in my body. But once your body is actually like under control, I find now I can eat whatever I want. I don't want to be deprived of anything if I want it. But I do pay attention to what my body reacts because we're all different. So it's about seeing what reacts well with your body. So you are molecules and it's really important you pay attention to that. So take action. How can you actually use this information to move your system forward? You want to start rebooting your system, guys. Just like your phone, my mum comes in and goes, my phone's not working, Lisa, it's not working. And I'm like, have you turned it on and off? Your phone's overloaded because you've not turned it off for 2-3 weeks. Are you turning off your brain? Because like I said, it's the most powerful system. It needs to be rebooted occasionally. That's why meditation is so good. But I don't care what you do, as long as in the day you take breaks and just think about it, switch it up, turn off your machine. Also, the sense model is like pretty obvious stuff. And I've actually put it, it'll be on my website if you do want to download it. It is about brain fitness and looking after your brain, how to look after it properly. I'm not going to go through that because I think most of us know that we need to eat properly. But I do want you to remember that you are nature. You don't make fruit. We can have plants inside. It's cool. But we wouldn't expect them to make fruit. We wouldn't expect them to have flowers and blossom because they're not going to thrive inside. They need sunlight, and sunlight gives us vitamins. So we need to connecting with humans. All of this builds stuff that makes our system thrive, and it's part of what we need. You must drink water. We're made of water. At 2:00 in the afternoon, a game changer for me is to have water and some glucose, because I now know my brain is, while I was having afternoon fogs and really getting nothing done all afternoon, even though I was doing stuff and thought I was busy, because my brain actually, once you go into dehydrated mode, you just go into, I'm not really going to function. I'm in habit mode here. Just from sweating actually can put you in like a temporary 10-year aged, just 1 hour of sweating. So reboot, recharge, keep repeating, and look after your system. You are nature. But do dream big, because you're made of the stardust. We are all sharing everything. Ooh. It is a cliche, we are made of stardust, but just remember, one essential system. We're all together in this. And go get lucky, because if you don't take action, you won't. I don't know if you remember when you're but in your teenage years, and you'd be like, where are you going tonight? I'd say to my kids, and they'll be like, I don't know. Well, we just thought, we just see what happens. We get lucky. We didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know how the evening was going to turn out. We just were prepared for adventure, and we were up for that. And on that adventure, fun, random stuff's happened. And people sometimes say, oh, you guys are so lucky. And it's like, yeah, because we actually do stuff and we move around. We actually take action. We're not sure what's coming up. Like I said, life's not controlling. But I promise you it won't happen if you're sitting in the bedroom watching telly. So let's get going, guys. And let's all get lucky tonight. How do you do that? Do you look inside yourself? You get clear on your purpose. That is why everyone is so going on about it, because our system is actually run by this. So we need to actually get ready to be open-minded. We need to actually know if we don't open our mind and we're not willing to change it, we won't learn. The subconscious brain is the most important thing here. It is actually driving, it's 95%. Actually, some scientists say up to 98% is driving the system. So it's so important that you understand that, not your logical mind. The system that's making all the decisions, running the show, is actually the system one, and that is your subconscious mind. And your logical mind is 2 to 5% of what's going on here. And the reason we have emotions, the reason we have all these things is to send messages to the systems. There's no reason. We just have these different moods and things, and that actually is what tells the system. We're just living in. It's really weird when you start thinking about it too much. But it's super important that you do have your compass point in the right direction. Your belief system is what actually has a huge impact on your everyday, from the way you react to people and the way you interact with your whole ecosystem. So it's controlled by your fundamental beliefs. Before I actually went on this journey, I'd always had a weight problem. I'd gone up and down my whole life. And after I started taking back control and thinking, why is this? I go down there and then I come back up to over 80. I've been over 100 kilos. And I just started thinking about, what do I believe about this? And I realized in my brain, I was a big girl. in my brain, I was big. But as an adult, I look back and realize, oh, I'm big because my mum's tiny. She's only 5 foot. I'm not big compared to me. And one of the gifts of children is you get to look at their bodies and it's a reflection of you. And you're like, what? I wish I knew I looked like that when I was 18. I wouldn't have been hiding in a tent. I would have been like celebrating and running around in a Diamante G-string. It's like gorgeous. But our silly brain has these weird things that trips us out. So I want to make sure that you are pointing in the right direction, because that belief is important. That is what's shaping your reality. So even though you might tell everybody what you want, you keep saying all these things, unless you believe it, you're going to get nothing. If you think about, when you want a new car, suddenly it's everywhere. There's this brain thing. Suddenly we see all these opportunities. We want a car. When I was pregnant and I was trying to get pregnant, the whole world was full of pregnant people. And to be honest, I haven't seen a pregnant person for maybe 10 years. I don't know where they all went, but at one point they were everywhere. Every shopping centre I went into with prams and families. When I wanted a Mini, suddenly everyone drove a Mini. Now, I don't think that happened because of me. I think the filter opened up. That's what I know happened. We filter our thoughts, because imagine all the information that's going on in the world. It's like huge. Is with neurodiverse brains, there's so much information in there. Sometimes that filter is not working, and that's why it's so overwhelming. But we have to be aware that filter is actually based on our belief. That's what chooses what comes in. Our brain just takes in and makes the best decision available with the information we have. So put in good information, but be aware of what you're filtering out. Change your focus, because you're looking. Our brain doesn't want you to do different things. We don't want to waste energy. So it's actually just looking for evidence that supports your beliefs. That's what its job is. Show you you're right, and then help you find what you're looking to find. But it's not good enough to know what you want with goals. I realize you've got to know why. You've got to do that. So there's all those exercises everywhere out there. Go have a think about, do you know why you want this? So many times I'm like, I want to be like Mike. I want to be like Chris. I want what she's having. There's no attachment, guys. You can't actually have attachment. You don't know what Chris is like. You're just seeing one part of his life. Imagine yourself there. I was actually coaching someone last week, and they were sick of work and they wanted to do stuff. And I mentioned a community, and they were like, yes, that's what I want to do, is have a community. I'm going to do this. It's going to be excellent. And I was like, cool. You want to be doing that 5 days a week. You're probably going to have a team of maybe 7 to 8 people you're organizing and touching base, and all these people will be hassling you every single day in a list. I couldn't bear to have that as a community personally. It's cool for other people. So you've got to really think about what you want, because that's why you don't get it. It's really why, because your subconscious brain's not silly. It's not like your logical brain. It doesn't think all these crazy things. It actually looks and goes, well, you don't really want that, do you? Because that's silly. We know that. It's also just so much of a waste of energy when you're trying to guess what's going on in other people's minds. Look internally yourself instead of wasting time on them. No, it's not what you want. It's know why you want it. What is the driver? And guys, I really want you to think about that. I'm not talking, I want to be happy, I want money, because it's really not enough. When you think about those emotions, it's like, what do I want? Security? Do I want to feel good? Do I want do I want a community so people look at me? It's okay, whatever you want. There's no wrong answers here. But know why you want it, because that's the only way you're going to get it. Our brain is there to solve problems for us, but it can't solve problems if you're general. Like if you said, I want a car, it's not going to show you one car, is it? It's like suddenly you don't see yellow cars. You say yellow cars because you're specific. You don't see, oh, I want a car. That's why you don't get what you want, because it doesn't actually know what to look for. It's pretty easy. So get clear, think differently. That's what you need to do. Now, I also realized, why did I get lost? I'd never before got lost. I'd achieved my goals. I'd never gone through that judgment and pain before. People pretty much like me. Before I'd fitted in, actually. I was very good at fitting in, I think, from moving around so much. But what I think happened, instead of focusing on what I wanted and what I was doing in my life, I started getting focused on judging other people, blaming other people, looking. And my filter became open for fear, open for attack. And to be honest, that's all I saw. I just saw that everywhere around me. And when I decided to change, I got online because I was pretty anti-social media at this point. And I had decided, I'd already healed myself in real life before I jumped in there. And I said, I was seeing kind people. I decided I want to see kind people in the world. And since then, like I would do in Papua New Guinea, I would do the leadership program. I see kind people everywhere, and I've met the kindest humans everywhere. It's pretty cool, like the people on the internet. Like I've this huge connection with people. I want to travel around the world and just have a love fest, hug everybody, because I've made such beautiful connections there. Something I never expected, because my filter was like, this is terrible whenever I went in there before. That's what I saw, was evidence that I was right. This was not the right thing, that we were connecting in this crazy way. But now I've realized it's an amazing thing, because we can share our minds and we can find people where we belong. We can do all these cool things so quickly. It's saved us in the last couple of years, because civilizations do get destroyed. But we have this amazing tool that we've built that we can use. And it's cool. It's new, guys. We're learning. That's what I realized. We're learning with it. But it's pretty exciting. It's not something like before I thought was so terrible. And there is this horrible thing. You think, if you're in a bad situation, we do whatever we could to escape it. That's what people think they'll do. But the truth is, unfortunately, when you're not in control of the outcome, very quickly we give up. In 1965, there was a scientist who did an experiment. He was carrying on Pavlov, and he wanted to see what would happen if the dogs didn't have any control. So he had one with a electric shock going for the floor, one had a button it could go and press, and the other one had nothing. Very quickly, the dog with the button learned, oh, I touched that button, it's gone away. And he was a pretty happy dog. He was doing okay. The shock came, turned it off. He was no problem at all. The dog with no control was in depression so quickly. It's just, when you feel powerless, it doesn't make us feel good. And we want to feel good when we're on this journey. You got to start with curiosity. You've got to start with, where am I? And I want you to pay attention to your beliefs. I want you to start looking around and think, what does give me joy? Because I'd sort of forgotten. I'd been going, oh, I love work. But I did love work. But what actually brought me joy? What lit me up? And what thoughts did I say? I started paying attention, and now I listen all the time. Be really careful of your words, because they are directing what you think. Is this a useful belief? Do you need it? Because what you believe is going to be shown to you with your filter. And the cool thing is that then it's shown to you if it's a useful belief, and it reinforces the outcome. But if it's a shit belief, you're actually going to go like, filter's going to let in evidence that that is actually happening. And then you'll go around in the circle of seeing actually results that that's happening, and you'll be even more, boom, 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 I'm going in a crappy circle spiral downwards. So be aware of what that belief is. Is it your belief? Because so often the beliefs we carry around are not ours. They're our parents. We get them when we were younger. Is it your belief? And some of them, it's so funny when you pay attention. You're just like, that's not even mine. Why I was even thinking about it. And it's directed my life. Honestly, they just get lifted off. It's amazing. It's freeing. You're like, oh, my God, I didn't even know I had that belief, and it's been really messing me up. When you take back control of your emotions, and when you take back control, instead of people attacking you and you're saying they make me feel this way, you get to choose. You have to take responsibility of this crap, but you actually get to choose then to feel powerful. I'm not talking about blaming. I'm talking about looking and saying, why has this happened? Why do I feel this way? Why am I reacting? Is this something I have control and I need to waste energy on it, or if it's not even my monkey, Get off my back, my friend. So that is what you want to do. Go through your excess baggage, see what you've shoved in the back of that cupboard, because that is why you can't take off. You're just so heavy. You got to the checkout and they just went, go unpack some crap. You're not flying today, my friend, because you're full of other people's rubbish. So those childhood perceptions, people say the weirdest comments and you've picked that up and like your whole life's been driven on, oh, they said that to me and I must be true. I remember when I moved to Australia when I was 14, and it was something like I went to this school and everyone could play sport. They're pretty sporty here. I had gone to a school where there was no sport. Like I was in the Middle East and Africa, and even in London, it was an all-girls school. I'd been there for a couple of years. And it really was not Australia sport level. Everyone had to do sport, didn't they? And then I did sport, and I'm like, you can't even catch a ball. You're crap. You are so rubbish at sport. And then I was like, no, you're not. As I was older, I suddenly realised, like, maybe you weren't rubbish at sport, because my kids have been brought up in Australia and they started catching a ball when they were like 3 years old. So, of course, when you were 14, you couldn't catch the ball because everyone else had been doing it for 10 years. That was my belief. If I'd have practiced and done it, I'm pretty certain I could have caught the ball. But because I just went, I don't do sport, that was it for the rest of my life. That was it. No sport for Lisa, because you can't catch balls. So that stupid belief had stopped me. And really, it was just a childhood belief and not realizing I just hadn't learned how to do it. Some of the stuff is tough. Some of it hurts because you've shoved it back there because you don't want to deal with it. So ask for help if you need it. Take it slowly, examine it, do half at a time. But take the time to say, is this my belief? Do I need to carry this crap around with me? Because the more you find out about you, I promise you the better your results will be. Knowledge about yourself is never a burden. Knowledge is never a burden in the backpack of life. Whatever you're doing, when you're failing, when you feel like you're failing, whatever you're doing, pay attention and learn, because that's all we're here to do. So this is the last thing you really need to know. Habits, they're messing us up, my friend. That is what's messing us up. I'm sure Chris knows, like me, people have a plan. They know what to do. They're clear. They want it. They're up there with me and they're going, yes, we're doing this. They don't take any action. And you're like, what the freak? You're doing the same crap again, aren't you? Why are you doing the same stuff? And the reason we have all these thoughts per day. Sometimes I couldn't put a number because it was 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day. You don't have to believe every silly one that comes through. You get a choice of what you react to, and you get a choice of what you see. But our habit brain makes these peaks repeat. 98% of your thoughts are the same as yesterday. 98%, which is pretty freaky. You're just running on autopilot as much as possible because that's sensible for our system. It keeps us on low energy. Fear or flight, survival, evolutionary pattern means keep you on power save. Let's keep this, as safe as possible for that person. They need to run. These are our emotions. They can take a photo. It's going out all over the body. And as you can see, they're like heat, energy, just like your molecules. That's why you feel them in your stomach. There's emotion cells and you feel that butterfly because they're moving molecules. It's like, ooh, butterflies in your stomach, literally molecules moving. So when you actually have those coming out, it's really to say, warning, warning, you're doing something new. Warning, warning, this is happening. And then you get to actually control what you do. But the problem is you don't really, do you? You just go into habit mode because we've got this amazing system that's made it cool for us. And it's just going, keep that battery, watch out, warning, warning. So you have to start thinking, is this a warning where I'm going to get burnt and I'm going to go into terror? Or is it just a warning that I'm using energy and actually that's what I want to do because I'm learning a new thing? I would say you should feel uncomfortable. You should feel emotions. There's no imposter syndrome. Get comfortable with it because, it's going to be emotions. If you've got those feelings, think this is cool because it means I'm doing something new. I know when I first spoke at the Futur, which was like a year and a half ago, I think maybe 2 years I did my first workshop there. Like the night before, I was like, what am I doing? I'm crying. It was like, I'm going to vomit. And then I was like, oh, my goodness, isn't this what you want? Isn't this everything you wanted? And aren't you excited? Maybe it's that because they both show in the same way. in your body. And I'm like, yeah, actually, this is what I want. Move it to excitement. Change the way you look at it. I often have no idea what I'm doing. You know, people I'm teaching and they're like, oh, honestly, I've bought a retreat. Not completely thought it through yet, but I'm having an adventure and I'm having fun. And I also am responsible for my energy. I really hate that with my kids when they walk in. They're like, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. When you say that, your brain thinks you're tired. If you say, this is so crazy, our brain. If you say to your brain, oh, I had a good night's sleep, you will perform better in tests afterwards, even if you didn't have a good night's sleep, compared to you saying, I'm so tired. I mean, it's just not a nice way to come into a room. It really annoys me when I'm employing people and they've walked in and they're like, I'm so tired, I was really busy all weekend. I'm like, well, thanks for your energy because it's not really helpful here. Be responsible for your energy that you're bringing because that is what you're going to get back. But also be aware, path of least resistance, you keep hopping back onto it because it's how we work. It's really cool. New actions to high energy, habits are low energy. So it's a super cool thing because remember, anything that you're going to build into a habit suddenly becomes easy. That is what you got to keep in mind, I think, with habits. I didn't realize that. I was like, I don't want to do the same thing every day. On my journey, I've realized I'm neurodiverse as well. And it's like, I don't like doing the same things. I'm not good at repetitive tasks. They're not for me, not for me. But it would really help if I did some repetitive tasks. It would actually help my life a lot. And so learning that I could control this was like, oh, well, this will suck for a bit, but then it's going to be a habit. And then I don't even have to think about it. It's cool. And our brain does all these cool, crazy things to trick us, to make things easy for us in life. And sometimes they're really cool. Sometimes they're not so cool because we miss things or we miss opportunities because it's just on these shortcuts and functions that are already pre-programmed in. We have a lot of biases. We social bias, we follow people. It's like much easier for me to waste energy with my brain to say, oh, Chris likes apple. That's the right choice. Even if I knew I didn't want Apple, even if I checked it out and Samsung was the best choice for me, I'm not choosing Apple because everyone else, we're not choosing Apple, my friend, because we are Apple brand biased. That's how it is. So that takes away. We don't even have to make a decision. What a great thing. New phone's out. I don't have to think because if it's an Apple, I'm buying it. If it's not, no choice is needed. And Apple's so clever with the way they do their marketing with the behavioral science. And they set up the 3 different phones for you so you have a choice and you know we like choice as humans. Like I said, our brain's always comparing. There's no right answers. Is this the right thing? This or this, this or this, this or this. And Apple just give you those 3 choices that always make you go, oh, thank you. They do the top price anchor. If you watch them, the way they sell, learning how to influence yourself helps you understand how you influence other people once you know how it's working. Because our brain is driven by, like, do we want status? Do we expect fairness? This is really what's driving our system, not that we want money. It's the basic things like, am I doing this so I have control? Am I doing this so that, you know, people look up to me? Why am I doing this? And like I said, there's no wrong answers, but keep your words positive because that's what's going to affect your behaviors. And your behaviors are going to make your habits. So if you start doing bad, start thinking and focusing on things in the past things, they're going to be the habits. Welcome to that rubbish. Keep those habits positive because that's actually going to become your values and what you realize are important. And that is so cool because that is what becomes your destiny. We don't like being uncomfortable and uncertain. And this is what I think is messing you up with SMART goals. Because the first thing is, let's be specific, let's measure the future. And we're wired for the unknown. We don't know what's happening in the future. And it's not something that makes us feel good. We're so uncertain. We're like fear, what could happen? We might be rejected. And remember, survival is the biggest for humans. We're tribal humans. We like to be liked. We like to be in the tribe. We don't want to be rejected. But what I've seen is if you focus on that past, you don't have any control over it. It just leads you to depression because you're like, I've got this thing that I want to change, but I can't. My brain can't do it. And it makes me sad because that energy is going in there. So I just keep focusing on it. I can't change it. if I focus on the future, which is what I think I did, which I'd never really done before like that. And it made me go into like paralyze of like, I don't know what's happening next, so I can't make a decision. But instead of paying attention to the place where I could make a decision, which is right now. So goal setting isn't about what I want in 5 years. It's only today. That's all we have. It really is all we have. I've learned that, like with my daughter and with some of my friends that I've lost now. We only have today. It's the only day you can control. So control that and stop focusing on this delusional future, because that overwhelm is stopping you going anywhere. And when you start doing things, look at your skills. Are they realistic? We sometimes have to start at the bottom and work our way up. We're not going to be Christo in 2 seconds. It took time to get there. So they're uncertain futures. Stop using SMART goals. I don't think that you could possibly, for a short goal, I want to do this sprint in the month. That is when SMART goals work. But when you're doing those long-term goals, it's impossible to measure. My son's selling cars at the moment. A year later, he's booming. Like, how could he measure how much he was going to learn and how much he was going to improve? And then people are like, oh, well, it doesn't matter. You're doing better than you go. And I'm like, well, really? It's like, now you're all changing it up, aren't you? So let's get not future focused. Let's get feeling focused. That's what drives you. And then you don't really have to worry about it. I promise you. It's like the filter is open for the opportunities. Learn what you need to know from the past. Take it in, this information. Know that you haven't got much energy, so you live in the now. Dream about the future. Dream about the future. But know that they're not all going to come true. Keep testing those ideas in your head. Imagine yourself there and see if you like it. Change the way you think about things, because like I said, we've got a crazy brain. You know, we think just because something's got packaging, it's got way more valuable. Panadol, Nurophens. No one wants a non-branded Nurofen because they don't work it. No one's got a 50p headache and 50 cents headache. We've got a $5 Nurofen headache. And the placebo, our brain's that crazy that we can actually, we think it works more. No action is the key. Remember that habits stick. So when you're thinking about your thoughts, say, ooh, do I want this as a habit? These habits never go away. It's like riding a bike. Your brain's so cool, it just puts them in the back of the cupboard in case you need them. You can't get rid of habits. But what you can stop, what you can get rid of, is the cue that causes the habits, because that's what our system's like. When this happens, you do this. When this happens, you do this. So you change the cue. And you don't need to focus. They found it's really not good to focus on getting rid of habits. You just keep focusing on building new ones. New ones is important. Get used to stopping and breathing, because we go, oh, I'll have that Chinese syndrome. My habit brain says, I like things. Give me more. My ego takes over. But what they found, when if you stop and breathe, you will delay that reaction. I'm not sure if you've seen that marshmallow experiment, Chris, where they're like, give kids and say, here's one marshmallow. And if you wait for time, you'll get 2 marshmallows. And there's some kids, it's like in their mouth in 5 seconds. I can't even wait till you shut the door. There's are in my mouth. And the ones who wait, they've studied those children for 42 years, I think now. The ones who delay gratification are the ones who do just so much well in every single area in life. And they can tell that from that child on the way he's chosen a marshmallow. Breath is your joystick, my friend. It's a secret thing. Pause and breathe. We've been given it to control. If you go short breaths, you power yourself up. If you do long breaths, you can calm yourself down and go to sleep. Other cool thing is if you blink your eyes. When we blink, it actually helps keep us awake. Our brain thinks we're keeping awake. So if you flick your eyes, it's like I'm going, wake me up, please, wake me up, please. And the little signal is going in your brain every time you do that. With habits, you want to celebrate wins, because we do like that. Like that, humans, we like to get little rewards all the time. We want to keep those happy hormones up. So get actually cool with doing those. Get rewards. Build them in every day. When I first started, and I didn't know what I wanted, I didn't know where I was going, I didn't know my beliefs, I didn't know everything. I hadn't paid attention to any of that stuff. I was like, I need to start finding out what's fun. But I need to start believing I can do stuff again. Because how many of us are signing up for gyms when we pretty much know we're not going? Oh, I know. Oh, yeah, I should do that. But I'm not, but I'll sign up anyway because we've got used to being failures. Don't commit to shit you're not going to do. Tell your brain, if I commit something, I do it. I started off with just having water every day. That's all I had to do. And at the end of the day, I celebrated that. And then I had to go outside and breathe every time I felt emotions, every time I felt attacked. And that's all I had to do. Because if I'd set off and said, I'm going to build this, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to do all this stuff, I didn't have my system right. We've got to constantly, because of the autopilot, though, be very careful. When you're someone who's like me, 50 years of the habit, they don't break, we hop back into them very quick. It's like toggling. We can toggle the switch. But remember that you can toggle back. And the more you keep toggling, the more that will become your normal. You want to break the cycle. But it's about, weirdly, and this was really hard for me to get my brain around when I realized it, you actually need to do less, not more. I'd been brought up where you worked your ass off to get what you want, work. That's what we do, we work. And then I was like, oh, it's all about what you believe. And I realized small, consistent steps, all you need to do, paying attention to the do. If you start doing all these things that you think, oh, I'm going to do this, this, and this, overload, warning, you do nothing. And that's what's actually happening to people's goals as well. It's just too much. You are a system. You wouldn't do that to your computer. So don't overload it, one at a time. And then you're like, boom, that's a new function. Let's move on. Celebrate. This is what you want to do. Celebrate little wins and build them up. And suddenly you'll be like this optimized machine. He's winning and getting golds. Most importantly, I want you to believe in magic because anything's possible. Change is possible. Every 7 years, you are a new human. What? Who knew that? So cool. So it is possible to change. If you look back to where you were 7 years, I guarantee you've changed. Take control of that. You're one movement away from a new life. Either you need to change where you're looking, you need to take one step, you just need to start taking action. Thank you. And I hope that this gets you all on the path to achieving your goals.